Fast Times at Ridgemont High wasn't just a teen comedy, it was a journalistic experiment wrapped in raw authenticity, method acting madness.
You need money.
All I need are some tasty waves.
And pure creative chaos. 1 year, a Rolling Stone writer vanished into high school, and nobody suspected a thing. One actor, he refused his real name and made the crew call him by his character's identity. And one pizza delivery, let's just say the consequences weren't part of anyone's lesson plan. These are 20 weird facts about Fast Times at Ridgemont High, but wait until the end because the bonus fact reveals how this box office failure accidentally launched a revolution in teenage cinema. Grab your checkered Vans, time to surf through the madness.
Number 1. The Rolling Stone writer went undercover as a high school student.
Hey, bud, what's your problem?
No problem at all.
By 1979, Cameron Crowe had already conquered music journalism at Rolling Stone. The 22-year-old had interviewed Led Zeppelin, written cover stories, built a career most writers dream about. But Crowe wanted something different, something unprecedented. He convinced Simon & Schuster to bankroll the most audacious journalism experiment of the decade. He would disappear into high school. Not visit, not observe. Disappear. Crowe moved back with his parents, enrolled at Claremont High School in San Diego as Dave Cameron. For an entire year, he sat through algebra, ate cafeteria, food, navigated teenage hierarchies. Only 5 people knew his real identity. The principal, one teacher, a handful of administrators sworn to secrecy. The revelation came when Crowe realized including himself would destroy everything. To capture authentic teenage truth, he had to become invisible. The consequence? His 1981 book became the blueprint for the most honest teen movie ever made. Number 2. Sean Penn refused to audition and demanded the role.
See that sign? No shirt, no shoes, no ties.
By casting time, Sean Penn was nobody. One previous film. 0 star power. No leverage whatsoever. Penn walked into the Fast Times casting office with the confidence of Marlon Brando Saturday Down. Made his demands. He announced that he grew up with characters like this and knew how to play the role. The casting directors asked for an audition. Penn's response was legendary. He refused to audition and would only show them his performance if they hired him first. They pressed for previous work. Something. Anything. Penn shrugged. He mentioned his role in Bad Boys, but said they couldn't see it because it wasn't ready for viewing. This was peak audacity. A nobody making demand. But Penn understood Spicoli because he'd known surfers like him in Malibu. The consequence? Penn's raw confidence secured the role that would define stoner characters for decades. Number 3. Penn stayed in character for the entire production.
I got a cigarette. I got uno Nicolette.
By day 1 of filming, Sean Penn had vanished. Only Jeff Spicoli remained. Penn demanded everyone call him Jeff or Spicoli, not Sean. Never Sean. He wanted Jeff written on his director's chair, on call sheets, on paperwork. Production staff questioned this. Director Amy Heckerling told them to just do it. Penn's commitment was absolute. Total method immersion. Cast members never met Sean Penn during filming. Only Spicoli existed on that set. The transformation was so complete that crew members started believing. This wasn't acting, this was inhabited reality. Scott Thompson, who played Arnold, later said he never got to know Sean because he was Spicoli the entire time. He kept wondering where they had found this guy. Only after wrapping his final scene did Penn introduce himself as Sean Penn. He thanked the crew graciously, but until that moment, he had been exclusively Jeff Spicoli. The consequence? Penn created a performance so authentic it became the template for every stoner surfer character that followed. Number 4. The pizza scene was written, but Penn made it legendary.
Am I hallucinating here? Just what in the hell do you think you're doing?
Learning about Cuba, having some food.
By filming the classroom scenes, the cast had already established their rhythm. Standard dialogue, expected interactions, predictable teenage comedy. Then came the pizza moment. The famous line asking if being in class together made it their time was already in Cameron Crowe's script. Penn didn't improvise it, but Penn's delivery transformed written words into cinematic gold. His timing, his conviction, his absolute belief in stoner logic. Ray Walston, playing Mr. Hand, struggled with Penn's intensity. Penn would sometimes improvise additional insults, call Walston names not in the script. Walston complained to Amy Heckerling that he hadn't worked with Billy Wilder to be insulted by a 21-year-old. Meanwhile, the crew was losing their mind. Penn's commitment was creating comedy magic. The consequence? The pizza scene became one of the most quoted moments in cinema history. Number 5. A 27-year-old first-time director managed the chaos.
Everybody in Hollywood passed on it. Everybody said no.
By pre-production, Amy Heckerling was drowning. Her first feature film, Sean Penn refusing to break character. A cast of unknowns, studio indifference. Heckerling had only directed student films at AFI. Now, she was managing Hollywood's most committed method actor while juggling teenage authenticity and commercial pressure. Her inexperience became her superpower. She wasn't locked into Hollywood formulas, couldn't rely on conventional wisdom. Heckerling approached Fast Times like a documentary, less structured than typical comedies, more like American Graffiti. She wanted audiences to feel like they could wake up inside the movie. The challenge was enormous, creating coherent narrative from Cameron Crowe's ensemble book while managing Penn's intensity and everyone else's inexperience. But Heckerling's fresh perspective allowed experimentation, naturalistic dialogue, realistic teenage behavior, honest emotional moments. The consequence? Her documentary sensibility created a teen movie that felt genuinely different from the exploitation films dominating the genre. Number 6. Jennifer Jason Leigh actually worked at the pizza place.
Christmas sucks. I hate it. You gotta get used to working the holidays.
By preparation time, Jennifer Jason Leigh knew research was everything. Playing 15-year-old Stacey Hamilton required understanding real teenage experience. Leigh didn't just read about pizza restaurants. She worked at Perry's Pizza in Sherman Oaks Galleria for 3 weeks before filming. Real shifts, real customers, real teenage workplace dynamics. Leigh also reread her own high school diary, studied her letters from adolescence, analyzed her authentic teenage emotional patterns. The 19-year-old actress understood that Stacey's sexual awakening needed to feel genuinely teenage, not an adult fantasy about teenage sexuality. Roger Ebert, despite hating the film, recognized Leigh's naturalistic performance and asked if they knew they had a star on their hands. Leigh's preparation captured real adolescent confusion, authentic curiosity, genuine vulnerability. The consequence? Leigh created a teenage character who felt honestly young, establishing her as one of cinema's most fearless character actresses. Number 7. Universal executives didn't know the movie existed.
You hear about the surfer guy who pulled a knife in Mr. Hand this morning? Oh no. He just called him a dick.
By production time, Fast Times had become Hollywood's invisible movie. Studio executives had forgotten it existed. Cameron Crowe remembers trying to enter Universal's lot. Security guards stopped him and said the studio wasn't making a movie called Fast Times at Ridgemont High. One puzzled guard told Crowe not to park in Burt Reynolds' spot because Universal had never heard of Fast Times. The hierarchy ignored the production completely. No interference, no oversight, no marketing discussions. Judge Reinhold recalls they were heartsick because someone high up said this was pornography and there was no way Universal would release the movie. Studio neglect was both blessing and curse. Creative freedom came with commercial abandonment. The filmmakers essentially snuck their movie through the system, made it without studio meddling because nobody cared enough to meddle. The consequence? Creative independence allowed authentic vision but guaranteed minimal marketing support. Number 8. Forrest Whitaker got cast with one audition monologue. By audition day, Forrest Whitaker was just another unknown actor. No film experience, no star potential. Just raw talent waiting for discovery. Whitaker delivered a theatrical monologue that stopped Amy Heckerling cold. Pure presence, undeniable charisma, natural screen magnetism. Heckerling immediately told him that was great, and he got the part if he wanted it. Production staff scolded her afterward. They explained she wasn't allowed to make casting decisions like that without going through agents and negotiations. Heckerling had no idea how Hollywood operated. She just recognized talent when she saw it. After getting the part, Whitaker was so excited he skipped across the parking lot to his car. genuine enthusiasm for the opportunity. Fast Times was Whitaker's second 1982 release after Tag, The Assassination Game, but the one that put him on critics' radar. His natural screen presence was immediately apparent to everyone involved. The consequence? Whitaker's performance launched a distinguished career that eventually earned him an Academy Award. Number 9. Half the cast was hired through personal connection. By casting time, Fast Times had become a friends and family production. Personal relationships trumped traditional auditions. Judge Reinhold got Brad Hamilton because he was Amy Heckerling's upstairs neighbor in Los Angeles. Proximity beat talent searches. Heckerling cast her ex-husband David Brandt and his band Reeves Nevo and the Cinch as the school dance band. Her ex-boyfriend Martin Brest appeared as the field trip doc. Cameron Crowe's girlfriend Nancy Wilson from Heart played the woman who laughs at Brad's pirate costume. These weren't nepotism decisions, they were authenticity choices. Filmmakers drawing from real social circles rather than manufactured Hollywood connections. The personal relationships created natural chemistry. People who actually knew each other felt comfortable on screen together. Authentic connections replaced artificial casting formulas. The consequence? The film felt genuine because it was populated by people with real relationships. Number 10. The film was originally rated X for teenage sexuality.
Am I gonna get to first base?
By post-production, Fast Times faced its biggest battle. The MPAA threatened an X rating for frank treatment of teenage sexuality. Amy Heckerling insisted on genital equality in sex scenes, realistic teenage sexual experience rather than sanitized Hollywood fantasy. The ratings board panicked. Full frontal male nudity, honest teenage abortion storyline, authentic adolescent confusion about sex. Editor-turned-executive Verna Fields vigorously backed Heckerling during MPAA appeals. The battle was intense because an X rating would prevent teenagers from seeing their own story. Eventually, Heckerling blurred certain shots, made strategic cuts, compromised without surrendering essential honesty. The R rating came with artistic sacrifice but maintained commercial viability. The ratings war established Fast Times as a film refusing to condescend to its teenage audience. The consequence? The censorship battle proved the film treated adolescent experience with unprecedented seriousness. Number 11. Matthew Broderick turned down the Spicoli role.
You need money.
All I need are some tasty waves, cool buzz, and I'm fine.
By casting decisions, several future stars passed on Fast Time. Career-defining roles slipped through famous fingers. Matthew Broderick was offered Jeff Spicoli. Turned it down. Imagine Ferris Bueller as the ultimate stoner surfer. Jodie Foster was considered for Stacey Hamilton, Tom Hanks for Brad Hamilton. Justine Bateman was offered Linda Barrett, but chose Family Ties instead. Fred Gwynne was offered Mr. Hand, but refused. Too much nasty stuff for the former Herman Munster. Other auditioners included Ally Sheedy, Meg Tilly, and Ralph Macchio. All rejected. The famous rejections actually benefited the film. Unknown actors brought hunger and authenticity that established stars might have missed. Casting director Don Phillips deserves credit for finding the right performers when bigger names passed. The consequence? The relatively unknown cast delivered performances with genuine teenage energy and desperation. Number 12. Ray Walston finally escaped his Martian typecast.
Aloha. My name is Mr. Hand.
By 1982, Ray Walston was forever Uncle Martin, the alien from My Favorite Martian. Typecast hell for a serious actor. Walston brought decades of Broadway experience to Mr. Hand. Tony Award winner for playing Satan in Damn Yankees. Seasoned professional trapped in television comedy. His chemistry with Sean Penn created magic. Veteran theatrical training versus pure method commitment. Different generations. Opposing approaches. Perfect comedic tension. In a 1999 interview, Walston expressed relief that young fans shouted Mr. Hand instead of Uncle Martin. He had finally escaped alien typecast. Walston's performance balanced authoritarian intimidation with genuine educational concern. A teacher fighting impossible battles against teenage apathy. His scenes with Penn became masterclasses in comedic timing and dramatic depth. The consequence? Fast Times revitalized Walston's career, leading to his Emmy-winning role on Picket Fences. Number 13. The film bombed theatrically but found life on VHS.
I just want you to know that I'm pregnant.
And we only did it once.
By release time, Fast Times was commercial roadkill. Universal opened it in limited West Coast theaters. Minimal marketing, low expectations. Amy Heckerling recalls they were going to put it on the shelf because they didn't see how it would make any money. But something unexpected happened. People kept coming back and knew all the dialogue. The film grossed $27 million against its $5 million budget. Respectable, but unspectacular. Critics dismissed it as teen exploitation. Then came the video revolution. Fast Times became one of VHS's first major cult classics. Teenagers rented it repeatedly, memorized every line, shared it with friends. The home video market created the film's real audience. Authentic teenage experiences found their viewers outside theatrical constraints. Robert Romanus, Mike Damone, reflects that it was the event that changed his life. One of the most amazing things is just how many legs this movie has. The consequence? Fast Times proved authentic storytelling could find massive audiences even after theatrical disappointment. Number 14. The original title was High School: A Stairway to Heaven.
I'll give you a call sometime.
That'd be great. Stacy.
By early development, Cameron Crowe's screenplay carried ambitious intentions. High School: A Stairway to Heaven reflected his vision for adolescent transcendence. The Led Zeppelin reference wasn't accidental. Crowe's rock journalism background influenced his approach to teenage culture, music as spiritual experience. The title change to Fast Times at Ridgemont High came during development, but it better captured the film's focus on accelerated teenage experience. Amy Heckerling later explained that the whole theme, even in the title, is that things are going too fast for young people. They shouldn't have to worry so much about sex at such an early age. The Fast Times concept reflected Crowe's observation that teenagers were forced into adult situations at increasingly younger ages. Economic pressure, sexual expectations, social complexity, adolescence compressed into overdrive. The consequence? The title perfectly encapsulated the film's central theme about premature teenage acceleration. Number 15. The characters were based on real students. By research completion, Cameron Crowe had built relationships with actual Claremont High students. Real people became fictional characters. Mark Ratner was inspired by Andy Rathbone, who later became wealthy writing For Dummies computer books, teenage geek to publishing millionaire. When Crowe revealed his identity after graduation, students reacted with surprising support. Many wanted their real names used in the book. Mike Damone's inspiration was more interested in hearing Led Zeppelin stories than being angry about deception. He just wanted to go to the beach. Students told Crowe outrageous stuff, offered to document private parties, shared intimate details about teenage life, but Crowe maintained ethical boundaries, refused to exploit their trust for sensational material. His genuine relationships gave characters emotional depth beyond typical teen movie stereotypes. Real speech patterns, authentic concerns, actual social dynamics. The consequence? Characters felt genuine because they were based on real people rather than Hollywood assumptions. Number 16. They filmed at real high schools and malls.
You hear about the surfer guy who pulled a knife in Mr. Hand this morning?
By production time, authenticity demanded authentic locations. Van Nuys High School became Ridgemont High. Real teenage environment. Actual educational atmosphere. Sherman Oaks Galleria provided the mall scenes. Filmed after hours but using genuine retail spaces. Authentic teenage consumer environment. The production design team worked to make every location feel lived in by teenagers. Realistic hallway wear. Genuine locker arrangements. actual teenage territorial markings. Filming in real locations rather than studio sets contributed to documentary-like authenticity, distinguishing Fast Times from other teen comedies. 8 weeks of principal photography, the 2nd of November, 1981 start date, real teenage energy captured in genuine teenage spaces. The authentic environments helped create naturalistic atmosphere. Audiences felt like they were inside actual high school and mall rather than Hollywood approximations. The consequence? Real locations reinforced the film's commitment to teenage authenticity over commercial polish. Number 17. Nicolas Cage made his debut as Nicholas Coppola. By casting time, Nicolas Cage was nobody special. Francis Ford Coppola's nephew, 17 years old. 0 film experience except an unaired television pilot. Cage originally auditioned for Brad Hamilton, but wasn't cast due to age. Ironically, at 17, he was actually closer to appropriate high school age than most other actors. His small role as Brad's coworker showed natural screen presence even without dialogue. Charismatic energy that hinted at future stardom. This was also Eric Stoltz's film debut. Early roles for Anthony Edwards. Fast Times became an informal acting school. Cage was credited as Nicholas Coppola, the only film where he used his real name before adopting his stage surname. The small part demonstrated his magnetic screen presence. Future Academy Award winner hidden in plain sight. Fast Times launched multiple careers simultaneously. Unknown actors who would dominate American cinema for decades. The consequence? The film became a launching pad for an entire generation of performers. Number 18. Critics dismissed it as teen exploitation.
I guess Ron hasn't called yet, huh? Not since November.
By release time, Fast Times faced critical hostility. Roger Ebert gave it 1 star, called it a scuzz pit of a movie. Critics couldn't distinguish it from Porky's and other teen exploitation films. They missed the anthropological accuracy that made Crowe's work different. The film's honest treatment of teenage pregnancy, economic anxiety, and sexual confusion made adult viewers uncomfortable. They preferred sanitized adolescent fantasy. Cameron Crowe's journalistic approach meant documenting rather than exploiting teenage life. More nature documentary than traditional comedy. But critics attacked Fast Times for its realism while praising artificial films like Animal House. They didn't understand that realism was exactly what made it significant. The cultural battle lines weren't between teenagers and adults. They were between adults who remembered their own adolescence and those who preferred sanitized fantasy. The consequence? The film's true value was only recognized years later when audiences realized it had captured teenage culture with documentary precision. Number 19. The soundtrack captured authentic teenage music taste.
So tell me, do you like Ron?
I like Ron.
By music selection time, Fast Times avoided typical Hollywood manipulation. No manufactured teen appeal, no adult assumptions about youth culture. The soundtrack reflected what actual teenagers were listening to in 1982. The Go, Goes Jackson Browne. The Cars, authentic musical preferences rather than marketing calculations. Music choices reinforced the film's anthropological approach, cultural artifacts that placed the story in specific time and place. Songs weren't just background music. They were documentary evidence of teenage musical taste circa 1982. The soundtrack became commercially successful because it reflected genuine preferences rather than adult fantasies about what young people should hear. This established new standards for authenticity in teen films, respect for youth culture enhanced rather than compromised commercial appeal. The consequence? The music became as culturally significant as the film itself. Number 20. The Library of Congress preserved it as culturally significant. By 2005, Fast Times at Ridgemont High achieved ultimate validation. The Library of Congress selected it for National Film Registry preservation. The Library of Congress selected it with the designation of being culturally, historically, or aesthetically significant. Official recognition of the film's anthropological value. What critics initially dismissed as exploitation was eventually recognized as legitimate social documentation. Cameron Crowe's journalistic approach had created cultural artifact worthy of preservation. The citation acknowledged that the film accurately captured teenage life in early 1980s America, valuable for future historians and cultural researchers. This proved Crowe's experiment had succeeded beyond entertainment goal. The movie was simultaneously popular culture and serious documentation. Academic validation arrived decades after commercial dismissal. The long view revealed the film's true significance. The consequence? Fast Times achieved the rare distinction of being both popular entertainment and preserved cultural artifact. Bonus, the movie accidentally launched a teen film revolution. In a small West Coast theater in 1982, Fast Times at Ridgemont High wasn't just playing to audiences. It was rewriting the rules of how Hollywood approached teenage stories. The film's success on home video proved that authentic teenage experiences could find massive audiences even when theatrical releases were limited. Teenagers would support movies that treated them as complex human beings rather than demographic targets. Fast Times showed that authenticity trumped exploitation. Journalistic observation created better entertainment than manufactured fantasy. Cameron Crowe's anthropological approach became the foundation for modern teen cinema. From John Hughes to contemporary coming-of-age films, the template was established: treat teenagers seriously, and they'll reward you with loyalty. Fast Times at Ridgemont High succeeded because it refused to condescend to teenagers or adults. Cameron Crowe's undercover journalism, Sean Penn's method commitment, and Amy Heckerling's documentary sensibility created something unprecedented in American cinema. The film endures because it captured universal teenage experiences with anthropological precision. Economic anxiety, sexual confusion, social hierarchy, identity formation, the chaos of growing up in America. But the real magic was in the madness. A Rolling Stone writer going undercover, a method actor refusing his real name, a first-time director managing Hollywood chaos, creative courage producing accidental art. What's your favorite Fast Times moment that still feels authentic today? Drop your answer below, and remember, when journalistic integrity meets creative madness, the result isn't just entertainment. It's cultural truth wrapped in teenage chaos.